Hey, people. Scott here, coming back at you from WOU. Back in the studio after a bit of a hiatus. Got pretty burnt out on stuff previously, but I'm back and with something completely different. I've decided to take a case-by-case look at the various departments and, I guess, theaters, or not really theaters, but you know what I mean, and sectors that Western Oregon University has. And I feel the best way to investigate that is via the various students that attend the campus. About, I want to say 6,000 of them, each in their own segmented department of the major of their choice, but I digress. So for our first episode of this new series, we're going to be investigating the music department. One of the most interesting departments because, frankly, I don't know much about music. And whenever I hear people talking about the scientific theories of music, I always feel like I'm a caveman to some degree. I'm here joined by my good friend Lucas, who is a senior this year. You just finished the main music.
Yeah, I'm in music education, so I just finished all of like the prerequisite work, and now I'm doing student teaching.
But for the most part, you're just fully done with like the music classes, except for
yeah.
So no more trumpet playing, or
well, I mean, I play here and there, but I mean, lately I've kind of taken a break because after the last like 4 years of just playing it at like a collegiate level, I'm like, I need a break, man. Dude, it gets tiring after a while. You got to get up, practice 4 hours a day. Like, I don't know. There's nothing in this world I could do for 4 straight hours a day. And that's just a personal thing, though. But like, I'll probably get back into playing it at some point. But for now, I just need to like focus on
decompress.
Yeah, I got to decompress. I got to focus on student teaching, and I'm not really teaching at a high school level yet, so trumpet chops aren't as useful right now as they will be in the future. So
you just gotta get down hot crossbuns first, and I think you're good to go and stuff like that.
Man, you don't even know how real you are.
All right, so I guess just generally, what are your thoughts on the music department? We've had various conversations about this, and then through what I've heard from other people, that it's definitely changed a lot.
Yeah,
in the past few years.
Yeah, so we've definitely, even just like in my time here, we've had a lot of different staff changes. Like when I first got here, we had a couple of professors who are no longer employed. They got offered jobs at Central Washington University, which, if you know anything about music and music education, is kind of the spot to be on the West Coast. But so I was fortunate enough to receive education from these fellas before they took their leave over there. And for that little bit, I really enjoyed the music department. I felt my trumpet teacher knew a lot about what he was doing. I knew, my music theory professor, all the professors really. Digital notation was pretty good. Our wind ensemble director. Maybe cut this part out, actually.
What'd you say?
Listen, our wind ensemble director for like 3 years, I don't like talking bad about people, but he definitely...
Do they still work here? Or?
They still have like an office. What they actually do remains a mystery to everyone.
Well, we are protected by the First Amendment, so you can say what you want to say.
Oh, okay, cool. They're not going to like show up at my doorstep and...
No, they're not going to have the IRS come or something along those lines.
They're not going to mail me my psych you get no degree letter.
I don't believe they would, because then we could sue.
Oh, that's true, yeah. This is actually what the First Amendment is like protecting, though.
Exactly, just basic
ability
criticism.
To challenge authority. I was actually just doing a class recently about like resistant capital, which is like, so there's like 6 main capitals that people can like draw education and like self pride from, and one of them is like cultural knowledge and like knowledge capital about things that are like specifically resistance is like the ability to challenge authority and like go against the norm. which is exhibited by a lot of activist groups, which is, kind of what people use the First Amendment for. But yeah, so our wind ensemble director was very good at one point in his life. And I don't even really know if this is any fault of him, but the sands of time come for us all. And with time, we start to degrade at a certain point. I can already feel it happening to myself.
I see.
But yeah, there was just a lot of miscommunication and lack of initiative on his end that resulted in a less than stellar wind ensemble experience for about 3 years. Last year, our excuse me, you can cut that part out. Last year, we had our music composition professor, Dr. Kevin Walsick. He subbed in as a substitute teacher for 1 year while we found a new guy for that. From what I hear, he's actually doing pretty good.
You want to know something funny? I think I've told you about this. His Mr. Walsick's wife was my band teacher in middle school.
Oh yeah, I think you told me that.
Yeah, I went to the same church as them.
Yeah. That makes sense. Wait, did you grow up around McMinnville then?
Yeah, I was born and raised there. Well, no, I was born in Salem, but I spent I left McMinnville when I went to college.
I've known you for 4 years. How did I not know that you're from McMinnville?
I swear I've told you several times.
You might have. I don't know. I think in my head, I just always thought you were from North Carolina or something because that's where your parents are now. Not to out your parents.
You mean Illinois?
Oh man, I really don't know you at all, do you? Oh yeah, but kind of redirecting to the actual question. The general opinion of the department right now, and I'll talk about this in a second, but my general opinion of the department is really good. A lot of the people who are there and they're doing the absolute best work that they can do. They're going out, they're furthering their experiences and their careers, and they take it seriously over there, which I really like.
That's good.
Because I know a couple of years ago that was not the case, and then we got some staff hiring, and then it became a quasi-respectable establishment. I wouldn't say quasi. That's a little mean, but it's
decent.
Yeah, it's decent. If for the money that we're paying, I'd say it's probably the best education in music you could get. So
you would say overall the state of things are, kind of steady as she goes, kind of?
Yeah, it was a little rocky for a little bit. So we had kind of two main professors in the music department. We had Dr. Keith Carnes and Dr. James Redden. Dr. Keith Carnes was the jazz professor was the jazz director at Western Oregon. And 2 years ago, I think he got a job offer from Central Washington, which from kind of what I've heard, it was the only decision he really could have made. He was kind of going on a year-by-year basis teaching at Western.
Gotcha.
Which is really unfortunate because I think if the music department had received good, proper funding, it could have paid back dividends for the school. Dividends that they desperately need. Ooh. Man. I've had one too many ginger ales. I'm getting wild over here on
too many Canada Dries. So I want to ask you, you think things are better now than they were back then? Well, I know back then was technically COVID because COVID was your sophomore year.
Yeah. So it definitely, I think the music department definitely came out of COVID better than it went into it. When it went in, our jazz band, which is the main ensemble I was in, consisted of half music majors and then half majors from all around campus. Now I think all of the members of the jazz band are all music majors because a lot of them came over when Dr. Carnes and Dr. Redden were around because, word got out that they were really good at their job and that Western Oregon was a pretty decently priced tuition. And it's a 4-year program, so that attracted a lot of people in. Not many people took the 4-year option because it's very difficult. You're basically doing like overloading credits every term, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah, and I heard you have a lot of 0 to 1 to 2 credit classes that you have to take as requirements and
Yeah,
stuff like
so
that.
all of the ensembles are only 1 credit, which, you know, we copium every day and say that it's worth it. You know, it's good experience.
Yeah.
It's the job experience to get the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of work that you have to put into that, because I read something said someone said something somewhere that like the average amount of like perfection one puts in like a average thing is around like 80%, which if you're grading based on like, you know, school grades is like a B. But you know what it was? Someone sent me a video about like Michael Jackson's Thriller, but like, it's like, oh, here's what it sounds like if it's performed perfectly. And, you know, it's like 100% perfect because, you know, it's Michael Jackson. He worked a lot at it. Now we could talk about Michael Jackson on a different podcast, but because there is no shortage of things we can say about Michael Jackson.
Exactly.
But someone sent me this video and it was like, okay, now what if we take like 80% of it or we take 20% and we make the notes like ever so slightly wrong, and you play it and it sounds like doo-doo.
Not good.
No, but like that's the thing is like this standard of which we have to play music in order for it to be listenable. You know, you're allowed a mistake every now and again. Some of my favorite recordings have, you know, have some exactly, have like outtakes that they like left in because you know, it didn't take away from the music. Like a lot of the Beatles stuff has a lot of like goofs that they did that they kept in. I'm pretty sure you can hear Paul McCartney like scream the F word in Hey Jude at some point. But that's beside the point. Yeah. So I'd say overall the current state of things at WOU is, I'd say it's pretty good right now.
So I didn't know that. I never knew that. So pre-COVID, half the music department it was basically like a hobby or like a side, like an extracurricular for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was just like a lot of like extracurricular stuff. You know, a lot of people come out of high school and they, you know, they did band, but they're, you know, they want to go major in something else. A lot of nursing majors, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. But like, because like even in high school, I knew a lot of like people in band who like wanted to go into like nursing. I'm like, it's weird.
There must be some sort of correlation with that,
maybe
somehow.
Yeah, maybe.
So how are, I guess more thing, like give me the freshman experience of a music ed major. What was that like for you?
Like the freshman experience or my freshman experience?
Let's go both.
Okay. So my experience, you know, I coming down here from like Anchorage, Alaska, obviously a lot of things were different than how I'd experienced them up there. You know, I had a fantastic band director in high school, which is what encouraged me to pursue the craft in the first place. And then when I came down here, I definitely liked the professors a lot more than I liked the environment that we were in. I don't know. You've been to Smith Hall a couple of times.
A few times.
That building needs some renovation.
It's very old.
It is very old.
It seems to be one of the older. I know Campbell is the oldest building on campus, but I feel like Smith might be like a third or fourth.
Dude, Campbell Hall is like one strong wind gust away from like bankrupting the school, man. Dude, have you ever been in like the top room of Campbell Hall, like for a class? I took a first year seminar there, and I did not feel safe in that room. Like
I've been into the basement one time. But yeah, no, it's like, because I don't know, it's weird because it's so drastic going in. What's the newest building? I haven't even set foot in the Welcome Center yet. But
what is the Welcome Center for?
I honestly don't know. I feel like it's for.
It's obviously like for.
Yeah, I think
it sounds like it's for new students, but like we also have like the Student Success Center that's being built.
So that's that was the old ed building, right?
Yes, and then they tore it down and then got rid of all their electronics. I still have a. Actually, no, I threw that printer out. I got like a completely disassembled printer, which I didn't even know until I looked at it. I like pulled out the tray and like everything just fell out.
Yeah, I thought I could snag a second monitor from there, but no, it was too old.
Yeah, no, it was too late.
But so yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because I know a big determinator for rising tuition and expenses is construction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember years and years ago, I heard from like the University of Oregon, they're like basically tuition rises every single year because essentially every year they're renovating or building a brand new building on campus.
Yeah, no, I've been yearning for years for a Smith Hall renovation because, you know, with like all of the students coming in, like there's only so many practice rooms in that building because I think there's like, I want to say there's 15 as opposed to like 200 or so music people.
That's about the size of the department. 200.
I like last time I checked, I think I'd have to do another census, but at least when I was there, at like its zenith, it was probably actually over 200.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But anyways, your freshman year.
Yeah. So, sorry, I totally derailed.
No, don't worry about it. That's what these things are for. These are conversations. There's a free flow, but with a set topic. It's
it puts a fine line between conversation and just interview, which I guess it is kind of an interview, but like
sort of, but also yes and no. But anyways,
exactly. So yeah, my freshman experience, I came in. The building was a little off-putting. When the lights are off in like the big hallway part, it looks something straight out of a horror movie. I remember during orientation, I like came in and saw that. I'm like, I'm gonna like get murdered if I walk down there or something.
Yeah, I remember one night. I don't know if you were there or not. Like freshman year, me and friends, we got into Smith Hall probably at like, I don't know, 1 a.m. It's like you said, it's creepy. Like the lights flicker or something like that.
Dude, some people back when, speaking of my freshman year experience, some people when I was a freshman would take it upon themselves to bring a sleeping bag into one of the practice rooms and just like camp out there like Black Friday so that they could get a practice room early enough in the morning.
That's crazy.
Or some people would just practice so late that they didn't want to walk home, so they just slept on the floor, which don't lay down on that floor. It does not get regularly like carpet cleaned, and so much saliva goes into that carpet from like brasses and woodwinds because you know how they work.
Yeah, I played the trombone for a hot minute in high school, and then I got swapped to clarinet.
Yeah.
Oh,
I actually didn't know you played trombone. I knew you played clarinet.
I wanted to be a trumpet player because my eldest brother was a trumpet player in middle school, and I thought that was so cool. Tyler, if you ever listen to this, I apologize for putting those Lego crowns in your trumpet, but that's besides the point.
I got like a Lego Star Wars blaster stuck in the bell of my trumpet for like 3 months.
Wait, recently?
No. This was
years
like when I was 13 years old and like just started playing. No, that thing was in there for 3 months and I'd forgotten about it. And then like during some dress rehearsal, I was just playing and the thing just falls out. And I like stop for a solid 2 seconds and I'm like, and then I just keep playing. Just try to pretend it didn't happen. You know, the show must go on. Definitely freshman experience is a little bit trial by fire, especially because I came in and my advisor, Dr. Redden at the time, was like very adamant on like hitting the ground running kind of deal, which I was not at all prepared for. I'm amazed that I scraped out of most of my classes with like A's and B's. I did get like 1 C- in biology, but that was also, you know, if you don't get an F, then the credit counts.
C's get degrees.
C's get degrees, exactly. And, you know, it didn't super harm me in the long run. Like, my GPA is pretty good now.
That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, that was kind of more or less the freshman experience. Just a lot of
Trial by fire.
Yeah. I will say one thing that came out of COVID a lot worse than the rest of the department was like the marching/pep band.
Yeah, I noticed. I don't think I've seen a single post or really anything about that, at all.
So when I got here, it was definitely like the pride and joy of WOU was just going to football games and, playing. It was a lot of fun. I liked doing it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The people there were very cool. But yeah, once COVID kind of hit, we took a year-long hiatus, and then the director at the time, I want to say his name was Ben. Yeah, Ben. That's right. The director at the time, Ben, reached out to me. He was like saying, "Hey, I'm revamping Pet Band come 2021." I was just, I just wanted to make sure you were gonna be a part of it. I'm like, "Yeah, man, absolutely." It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I liked going out and watching football games. I'd like to point this out. In the now 5 years that I've been here, I don't think I've ever seen WOU beat CWU one time in any sport.
So that was Central Washington?
Yeah, Central Washington. Which, if you remember from earlier in the podcast, is where my professors went to go work.
Yeah.
Damn traitors. Oh wait, I can't say that.
They're fine. That's you can have one or two. That's okay.
All right.
That's
cool.
all right.
Cool. It's like PG-13. You get one F word.
Not that. No, not that.
No. No. I'm not just gonna randomly just start screaming the F word.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah. What's up?
What would you do if you were given unilateral authority to make any sweeping changes to the music department?
Unilateral authority.
You could do anything you want.
Okay, if I was department head or president of the university.
Well, okay, so that first president, that will come later. Head of the department.
Yeah, so if I was head of the department, I would definitely be fighting a lot more for better teaching conditions and more stable work. And this goes for all professors across campus, because I've seen the going rates of professors at this and other universities, and they do so much and get paid so little. I would definitely want to fight and make sure that all these people who went to school for 7 years to become experts in their craft get compensated as such, because they all do phenomenally. The music theory professor, the composition professor, especially, just kind of everyone that's there is super good at what they do. And it's it breaks my heart to see them get treated so unfairly by the university. And, I've seen the things that the university puts money towards, and every time I see it, I'm like, that could go back to your professors and they'd want to stay here longer and be more incentivized to work. I don't know if I should even be talking about this on here, but I did overhear some talk about going on strike in Hammersley. There were a couple of professors who were had it up to here with the conditions that they're in. And
interesting.
Yeah. I'm not going to name names, mostly because I don't know the names, but also,
privacy.
If that got out, they would not be happy. But no, I've heard some people, staff and professors, just talk about how much they have to deal with and get compensated so little by the university.
That's interesting.
And part of that's not even really the university's fault, but also, isn't it?
In a lot of ways, I feel specifically, I think the biggest culprit would have to be the Salem building.
Yeah. I've definitely asked around about that building. I actually don't even know. Is it used for its intended purpose anymore? Because they bought that so that they could do WOU classes in that building.
So I actually had a class there.
Oh, really?
I had a geography class. It was more like earth science, but from my understanding, its entire purpose was the fact that it's just an extension of WOU. But the classes that get put there are completely random. So my earth science professor actually mainly teaches at Bellamy Hall. I've ran into him a few times, and pretty chill dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was convenient for me because so that class started at like 5 p.m. It was a 5 to 7 p.m. class.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you're definitely going to have a class that's off campus, have it later, but also don't have them off campus.
Yeah, that's like the other thing. Like I would have probably not. It was also convenient for the professor because he lived in Salem, but that's also not every professor because there's quite a few that live here in Monmouth or in the surrounding area or even up in like Portland or something like that.
Yeah, but like I also have like a lot of colleagues who commute from Salem to here every single day. So I guess having that building does have its perks. However, I've also heard how much was spent on that building, and I cannot even begin to justify that purchase.
It's also it's massive too.
It doesn't need to be that big. Not that many people.
I feel like you could have probably
go there.
Rented maybe like a few classrooms at the most because like also that when I was there, that building had like a fully decked out like computer lab and stuff like that. It looked nicer. Like the lab there looked nicer than the 24-hour room at the library. It's crazy.
Yeah. At least when I like asked about the building, it seemed like it was just used as like a recruitment building, which at the time I heard that and I cringed. I'm like, you spent blank amount of dollars.
A lot.
Too many dollars. To build a recruitment facility that you could like rent out of a strip mall.
Not to mention, we also have to compete against OSU.
Yeah, who's and 20 minutes away?
Yeah, OSU, which is Division I. It's a state school. It's a little more expensive, but like, I mean,
yeah.
And then also Willamette University, which is in downtown Salem.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's a private school, obviously, but still, like, that's those two schools we have to compete with, basically, to, like, get students.
Yeah. What's next here on the docket list?
Well, I guess then follow up, what do you think the wider university can do?
On
top of, I guess, better pay for professors and staff and faculty.
Sell the building in Salem.
That's kind of an obvious one.
That's a like a short-term problem.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, it's a short-term solution which could give enough time to fix a wider problem that the university has, which is enrollment is down. Teachers don't get paid enough. Do we even have custodial staff? If so, please go to Smith Hall.
Yeah, I've noticed. We definitely have groundskeepers.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Or I think they work at night, actually.
Yeah. So I think the groundskeepers do work at night, but there's also like people that come in about once a week. They mow the grass. They do the leaf blowing, and they do this like smack dab in the middle of the day when everyone is teaching and everyone is in classes. Because they have that big like grass field in front of Smith Hall. And they tend to that in the middle of the day during classes. And I don't like to think this, but sometimes I think it's being done on purpose.
Why do you think that?
Because everywhere in education hates music and wants it gone for money reasons, which, again, is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. But honestly, like, I firmly believe that if the university had, like, cared for and nurtured the music department, because there were a lot of people coming in during 2021. Like the class size like more than doubled.
Yeah, I remember checking that. Like that was during COVID still. Like I remember walking past Smith Hall because that was back when I think 2021. That's when in-person classes kind of started up again.
Yeah, and everyone was like required to wear masks at the time.
Yeah.
Which. That I have my whole issue with that, but I wear glasses, so wearing masks, like going from outdoors to indoors while wearing a mask, I was like blind for half the class because it was like also just like getting into fall and then into winter, it was getting cold, and then you walk into this warm building and suddenly you're straight daredeviling it in your 9 a.m. music theory class. But. Yeah, I think what WOU could definitely do in a broader sense.
Yeah.
Just, again, it really all just comes down to funding. And this is kind of where that short-term solution can lead into a longer-term solution. You sell the building, Like, I don't care what it does for the university. It's too much money to keep it's too much money to keep, you know? You could, I don't want to drop dollar amounts because I don't even know if that's A, correct, or B, in my...
Let's just say a lot.
Yeah. They could sell it for a lot and then, either A, pay their teachers fairly, B, like hire in teachers who are teaching the thing that they are hired to teach, and C, update some of the really old buildings and don't just make random ones that don't need to be there.
Welcome Center, Student Success Center.
Yeah, I've been in the Welcome Center one time to print off recital posters because they have the copy shop there.
Oh, okay.
I want to guess how many people I saw in that building walking around in it for like 30 minutes trying to find the copy center.
2? 1?
Maybe 2. Because there was the lady at the copy shop, and then I think there was someone else there also getting copies. But lobby was completely barren. I heard no voices coming down the halls. It's a nice looking building too. And it's like, you could have classes there and then put like the administration in one of the lesser buildings. Like I don't know. It's definitely a problem that a lot of the money that WOU gets is being allocated into unnecessary things. Like, and I've dunked on some of the programs that they throw here on campus. Some of them I deem completely unnecessary because if you want to know about the subject, you can go Wikipedia that. But no, man. Well, mostly just like the there's one program in particular that comes to mind, which was like a collegiate level sex ed seminar. Yeah, no, I made that face when I heard it the first time too. But it's like, why? Like there is so much on the internet that you could pull from if you even like thought for a second, like, oh, I should know more about this. Like, it's not that hard. People think that's like, oh, they're going to fill your head with misinformation. It's like, not if you know where to look. You could just tell people like, oh, hey, these are safe sites to get information on whatever you want. And you don't need to spend however much they spent on that seminar throwing condoms at people and telling them where all the stuff is.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't go to that seminar, so I don't actually know what happened there. But they're doing another one right now. I've seen like posters for it around. I'm like, okay, once was funny. Twice, like, pay your teachers.
All right.
Yeah, but that's definitely the zenith of what I would change is just put money towards stuff that actually matters. I like renovating buildings. That's good. Replacing them, not replacing them, just renovating them. Like even just tearing them down, building a new one, like the music hall. Desperate need of it. Campbell Hall in desperate need of it. Todd Hall in desperate need of it. Maskey Hall in desperate need of it. So many buildings desperately need renovation.
Yeah.
But like if you've seen like the nicer buildings on campus, they look like too much money was thrown at them.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely emphasizing that point, reallocate funds, reallocate funds, reallocate funds.
All right. I got one last question for you before we wrap things up. How do you feel on leaving the department? Just like a more personal question. Like you're done with the wider music department. You're now in the, you're fully into the student teaching and stuff like that. Yeah.
So as I mentioned before, Dr. Keith Carnes and Dr. James Redden were, two very close professors to me. Dr. Redden was my advisor and Dr. Carnes was my trumpet teacher. And these were like two mentors that stuck with me for a very long time, even if I didn't want them to. They, pushed me to be better. And, when all was said and done, I'm really glad that I got all of my stuff done and I can move on to do the thing I actually love to do. So in that sense, I'm kind of nostalgic for the department. Like, obviously, there's other professors there that I'm gonna miss very dearly. But like the majority of why I was there isn't even really there anymore. So there's kind of a sense of like, you know,
what's there is gone.
Yeah, you know, it's like when you move out of your house and then like 6 months later you come back and it's filled with someone else's stuff. It's like, you know, it's not even really your house anymore. Like, what's to miss? You've got all your stuff at your new place. You know, it's just a house. But I mean, I don't want to like write it off as like, oh, it's, you know, just a department. You know, I've made a lot of like lifelong friends there. You know, you've met a lot of them. You are one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, at least I hope we continue to be friends. That would really suck if like I just like I'm like, yeah, you know, me and Scott, we're really good friends, you know. We hang out all the time, and then as soon as I leave, we just never speak to each other again. Like every time I just watch basketball, I just start breaking down. Yeah, but in a grander sense, I'm relieved and a little sad to be leaving. I've definitely thought about like going and like getting my master's over at Central Washington because you know I know the professors there and I know it's a good program, so you know it would further my education a lot. But yeah, no, I think just for now I'm focusing on getting through that student teaching. I'm teaching over at an elementary school right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the kids are really cool most of the time. And then you know I'll be going over to secondary school here in a little bit, and then that's it. That's all, folks.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, better wrap things up here. Lucas, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is
of course.
This is really
it's quite
fun.
the pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like a good opportunity to exercise my speaking abilities.
Exactly.
I've probably said like 200 times in this podcast, but you know, it's good practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for listening. This is Scott here on WOU. Check out our other stuff. We got a YouTube set up now. And yeah, that's all, folks. Everyone, if you're listening to this, have a good morning, have a good day, have a good rest of your night.
It's like the Truman Show right there.
Exactly.
And in case I don't see you, good evening, good afternoon, and good night.
Bit of an unintentional reference. All right. See you next time.